The Nürburgring Nordschleife in the 1970s sat at the absolute edge of acceptable engineering. It was a racing environment where the safety margins were practically zero. When you look at this vector map of the circuit, the scale of the danger becomes obvious. The track stretched over 20 kilometers through a dense German forest, packing in a dizzying 154 corners. Jackie Stewart accurately called this place the Green Hell. As the map highlights, drivers face dozens of blind crests and absolutely zero runoff areas to catch a mistake. When you push vehicles to extreme limits in an environment with no physical tolerance for error, mechanical failure stops being a possibility and becomes a mathematical certainty. That math got significantly worse on August 1st, 1976. This photograph from race day captures the miserable reality: heavy rain slicking the asphalt and soaking the crowds in the grandstands. The reigning world champion, Niki Lauda, looked at the conditions and ran the numbers. He knew a 20-kilometer circuit was too massive for marshals to safely monitor and respond to crashes in the rain. Operating on pure logic, Lauda begged the other drivers to cancel the event. They outvoted him. By ignoring the lethal variables on the asphalt, the field essentially locked in a catastrophic collision between the environment and the machine. On the second lap, slick conditions overwhelmed the mechanical grip of Lauda's Ferrari. The rear tires lost traction, and the chassis violently snapped right. Traveling at immense speed, the car smashed directly into the embankment at the Bergwerk corner. The kinetic violence ruptured the fuel systems. Instantly, the wreckage erupted into an 800-degree chemical fire. The track had defeated the vehicle. Now that immense lethal energy transferred directly into the human biology trapped inside the cockpit. Lauda sat pinned inside the burning inferno for nearly a minute. His fellow drivers had to pull over and physically drag him from the flames. The immediate visible trauma was horrifying. The intense heat left him with severe third-degree burns across his head and face. But the fatal damage happened out of sight. This cross-section shows the pathway. Lauda inhaled highly toxic, burning fumes directly down his trachea. The superheated gases scorched his lung tissue from the inside out, triggering a rapid systemic failure. Once at the hospital, his physiological state deteriorated so fast that his medical monitors flatlined. A priest was brought into the room to administer his last rites. From a purely diagnostic perspective, the physical limits of his human system had been breached. The body was defeated. Then the medical anomaly occurred. The flatline broke. His heart started beating again, driven by a conscious refusal to succumb to the damage. The catalyst for this survival was waiting back on the track. Lauda watched his main rival, James Hunt, rapidly close the gap on his championship lead. Driven by that pressure, he forced himself through an agonizing 42-day recovery timeline. To keep his scorched lungs functioning, doctors had to manually vacuum fluid from them every single day. This rapid healing defied standard biology. It was a pure psychological override, a shattered body forced to operate through sheer willpower. Exactly 42 days after nearly burning to death, Lauda walked back into the highly pressurized paddock of the Italian Grand Prix. He slid back into the cockpit while experiencing active, severe physical degradation. His unhealed wounds were still bleeding through his bandages, and the burns were so tight he couldn't even blink his eyelids properly. Operating this severely compromised biological vessel, Lauda completed the race. He finished fourth. Automotive engineers will always use the Nürburgring as the ultimate laboratory to calculate the exact breaking points of suspension, tires, and engine blocks. But you cannot calculate willpower. Lauda proved that the absolute strongest, most resilient component in any machine is the human mind. What is a massive setback you've had to overcome? Drop your story in the comments and follow for more legendary moments in history.